Time now for our big board, and our team of insiders standing by with more on today's top stories. Our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, is here at the desk with us for our first story. And Dan, John Hinckley Jr., the man who tried to assassinate President Reagan back in '81, being released from a government psychiatric hospital. A federal judge ruling he no longer poses any risk. A lot of mixed reaction on this, specifically from the Reagan family. Michael tweeting out his father forgave John Hinckley Jr. Maybe we should do the same. But Patty not feeling quite the same, saying just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you should let them loose. What was the legal basis for releasing him?
I know people forget this, but he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. People don't want to talk about that. Not guilty.
How does someone become uninsane?
Yeah. Exactly. So when you're found not guilty by reason of insanity, the goal then is to cure you, make you better. It's not to punish you. You're not being held to be punished. You're being held so that you can get better. Another thing that we're not talking about is the fact that very often Hinckley's already been out for 17 days in a month. So it's not new that he's going to be out. But what is new is that he could be out completely. And this is a lot based on the doctors. When you're found not guilty by reason of insanity, a lot of your future rests on whether the doctors say this person's a threat, not a threat, etc.
Now, even though he is released, is he released without restrictions?
No, a lot of restrictions.
A lot of restrictions.
Yeah, a lot of restrictions. For example, he's not allowed to get in touch with the news media. He can't get in touch with the Reagan family. He's got to stay within a certain amount of distance from his house. He's got to live with his mother for the first year. He's got to get a job. He's got to check in. The Secret Service has to know where he is, etc., etc., etc. So the judge definitely trying to impose a lot of restrictions here. But to some degree, at some point, you're probably going to have to let him go because he was found not guilty. You can think that that decision was terrible and wrong, but that was the decision.
All right.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Dan. Don't go anywhere because we're going to need you for the rest of this show, the rest of this segment here. And payback for poor reviews on Yelp. A Manhattan dentist is suing his own patients for defamation, saying they hurt his future business after posting negative comments like one that claimed an absurdly long wait. And Becky Worley is here. She's our tech expert. Becky, I have a good question for you. Is this a case of revenge for these negative reviews?
Yeah, guys, this dentist has sued his own patients 5 separate times. He's asked for damages from $50,000 to $100,000 from these patients. But what is interesting to me is Yelp's response. So they slapped a banner on the dentist's Yelp listing that warning customers that he's prone to threatening lawsuits. I mean, Yelp says they're only doing that on a handful of listings. But the threat of being sued, they say, really inhibits the power of their crowdsourced reviews, and consumers need to know about it.
Right. I mean, I go on all the time and look to see, what people are saying about anyone I go to visit, especially if it's someone I haven't met before. But here's what the dentist is saying. He's saying that when a claim is made that is simply not true, he feels he must set the record straight. Negative reviews obviously can be hard for someone to navigate their business when they get them. But is there any merit to what this dentist is saying?
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a he said, she said, or maybe in this case it's more they said, he sued. Some serious complaints of problems with the diagnosis, overbilling. Others more trivial. You mentioned an hour alone in the waiting room when the doc was running late. I have small children. That sounds amazing to me, to be alone for an hour. But, I mean, come on, it's Yelp. Consumers know. You only read the 3-star reviews, ignore the highs and the lows. And most business owners take what I call the Elsa approach. Let it go. But hey, you got a lawyer sitting right there. I mean, Dan, this is free speech, right?
Yeah, well, people still have to be careful. There's a difference between opinion and fact, right? You can say this person is the worst as much as you want. You can say I'd never, ever go back as much as you want. But when you start stating facts, I waited this amount of time, person didn't diagnose me, etc. Those are things where you can get sued by someone because if it's false, then you could be in legal trouble.
But I don't think anybody thinks about that. You just post your opinion.
Well,
yes, exactly. But opinion's okay.
Yeah.
Opinion's okay.
All right, Dan, Becky, thank you for that. And now to a parenting alert. Nearly 70% of kids are quitting youth sports by age 13. And now a new article is raising the question, are pushy parents to blame? Dr. Elizabeth Lombardo, clinical psychologist, joins us now with the latest on that.
And Dr. Lombardo, I had a football camp. And at this football camp, these parents would be on the sideline screaming at their kids, thinking everybody's going to be a pro, and they were 7 years old. So should these pushy parents possibly be sidelined from the games?
Well, I think we do even better to coach our parents how to help their children get more out of the game. Not more playing time, but focusing on things like team dynamics. working with others, camaraderie. You know, these are skills that will benefit our children for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and you know, we all know self-awareness is hard to actually put into practice. So how do parents know when they're being pushy? Are there warning signs that you can say, have a self-check, basically?
Yes, there are, and here's the deal. We're all parents, so let's ask ourselves, do any of you engage in these? First, is the coach always your most recent call? What do you think?
No,
Michael?
No, not me.
Not for me.
Good, good. Second warning sign is, does your anxiety increase the closer you get to the game?
Nope. Not me. My kids are in trouble, I guess.
I'm the opposite of a helicopter parent.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the third one. Do you coach the coach? Do you provide the coach with feedback on how he or she should do their job? What do you think?
If Strahan isn't doing that, I mean, you know.
I learned from watching other parents do it, and I just think that sports, it's about teamwork, it's about camaraderie. Learn to work hard and work together. And if you push your kids in sports, hopefully you push them in the education side of it as well, because that goes a lot further than what these parents think.
So basically, the tip is be like Mike.
Yeah.
Mike played 1 year in high school. I talk about myself in third person a little bit.
Yeah.
I
played 1 year in high school, so you know I'm like a late bloomer, and it shows. You don't have to play it growing up.
I still wouldn't want to be a coach of Michael Strahan's kids. You know, like you'd be a little nervous as a coach just to be out there, right?
I didn't engage in any of that behavior, but I did give a few looks to the coach.
All right.
We want to say thank you to Dr. Lombardo, Becky, and Dan. We appreciate you all for being here.